All right, hello everyone, welcome back to mentfx. This is webinar 3 of the Private Mentorship, and today we are going to look into some new things, answer some new questions, take a look at some viewer-submitted trades, which I thought were beautiful, so we'll take a look at that, take a look at some top-downs, as we always do, and work through questions that any of you have, and we'll see how it goes from there. So, let's get started. We're not going to start with EU straight up. We will work our ways into EU. Yes, everything's recorded. It's already being recorded, so you'll have access to it after if you ever need it. And for all the new people that join, you know exactly where to send them when they need to come and see some of the webinars. So first and foremost, I have a little gem that I'm dropping for you guys, not concept-wise, but maybe a little bit concept-wise and learning-wise, education-wise. On Friday, I was a little bit bored and just at home. And had nothing to do, so I opened up Bitcoin and I just started recording because I just wanted to see what I could do. And again, you guys know Friday absolutely sucks for trading, especially end of market, end of close, but it's all good. I was looking at Bitcoin on the Friday night, so very, very little movement. But despite that, and I recorded all this, so you guys will have access to it and see exactly how I went about getting into all these trades. I worked within this very, very miniature range that you see right, where is it? Right here. This one wasn't recorded, so ignore that, even though that one's beautiful. Basically recorded all the stuff in here, and how I look to get involved and properly managed and risked on all these trades right here. And you'll see how I worked through in this tiny little range. So again, I was forcing more trades than I usually do, but you'll see that everything is still under the exact same things we teach, which is waiting for supply and demand zones to be hit, waiting for structure to shift on lower time frames and higher time frames, waiting for lower time frame Wyckoff schematics to be met, and following that with proper management, partials along the way, and everything of that sort. So you guys are going to actually, it's about a 2-hour long video, so you know it's relatively long, but it will literally show you guys how I take in this case Bitcoin, or honestly it can be any given market, top down, and look through every single potential play that we can make, and how I then get involved in those plays and watch Wyckoff occur live, right? So you guys will, a lot of you that want to know about Wyckoff or have problem determining if it's type 1 or type 2 or how to do that, you guys will see how exactly I funnel myself into potential trades and spot these things intraday to get you involved. Now again, it gets a little bit crazy, and what I mean by that is, even if we look at this one right here, I didn't get the entry on this, but there was a 1 second schematic that formed. Where was it? Somewhere in here. Yeah, there was like a 1 second schematic right here, which again I spoke about during at the time of. So it'll look insane, but as you guys can see, these beautiful little tick, whatever you want to call them, I don't even know, are their own Wyckoff schematic. And if you really do want to follow them, you'll see it for any of those that are experienced. You'll see the selling climax, the AR, the ST and B, the sign of strength, the test of the last demand zone, and the takeoff. Okay, it's all right here. It's very, very ugly, but the point of what I did, and the reason I want to talk about all this, is to show you guys that this occurs absolutely anywhere. And again, yeah, I'm high, bro, but you'll see this, you'll begin to understand exactly what's going on here, especially those that are licensed professionals. Everyone that's been here for a while looks at this and can actually see the Wyckoff here, and I promise that they can actually see this. Ask Andy. He'll tell you he can see it. But it's all there. And that was just part of another fractal Wyckoff that occurred here. And again, I think that's like a 15 second. Yeah, so maybe even a 5 second. No, it's not a 5 second. 30 second. Oh no, maybe it is a 15 second. Either way, all this was live. So you guys will watch me analyze, talk through it as it forms, how I'm getting involved. Again, I didn't get involved in this 1 second on this 1 second one, but we used it to mitigate risk and all that stuff. So it's beautiful. It's much more clear if you use lines instead of candlesticks. Oh yeah, let's take a look at that real quick. Maybe it can help some of you that are working on your Wyckoff skills. Let's take a look at this. I guess. Nah, I like the little lines. I see it all with the lines. But yeah, definitely a very ugly pair. And definitely very ugly when we get down to the lower time frames. But everything works the exact same way. And you guys will learn to see that over enough time. So as we're doing all this, definitely begin to drop some questions that you guys want to work through. I'd love to work through some of those and help answer some of that. Yeah, this was beautiful, fantastic. Okay, So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to look at a viewer submitted trade. It was on EU. So a lot of you are asking about EU, and I think it was a great, it was actually a beautiful trade. So we're just going to look over it real quick. And I'm going to actually have this uploaded to the other course materials as well. But ultimately, let's just work through this step by step, and then we could look at it on a real chart. But this is just going to help a lot of you that are still working through how to actually use these three sections, third section of which is not complete yet, but how to use all these things and put them together in the form of finding your POIs, finding your supply and demand zones, waiting for their mitigations, whether you're finding them or not, and then waiting for confirmations and how to get involved in those confirmations. So step one is this guy was looking at Euro USD. So this was Lotus Voids, Kevin, as it looks like. So thank you a lot, Kevin, for providing this. This is absolutely fantastic learning material, and I love looking at this and reading through it. Shows a real understanding of the concepts, and a lot of you should aim to do this exact same thing. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Thank you. So as you can see, the daily, he had this zone marked out. Now, again, what's interesting about this specific zone is, again, if you were to look at it on a lower time frame, you might notice that there are areas in here that are still left and unmitigated. And you could have refined to those areas that are unmitigated because, as you all know, I like to trade supply and demand zones that have not had any mitigation. But that said, you are not wrong to use general areas. And similarly, if you were looking at this and saw, for instance, any of the section 1 stuff on mentfx blocks, for all of you that know, you have this down move, this up move, this down move, this up move. So again, of course, we understand that we did leave some kind of mentfx block back here, and that on its own is its own form of a POI. So if anything, he could have taken the mentfx block, refined it to a demand zone that he liked, and taken the 50% of it and looked at it as an overall area. As you can see on the daily, he noticed price tapped into the 50% of a previous tested demand zone. So he already understood that it's been mitigated, but he, at this point, was when he looked at it, right? So all he was doing was building a cause for potential higher price in this specific case. He said, I had this daily zone back in time that was mitigated. However, I'm seeing that it's mitigating right now, so I'm going to expect that there might be some mitigation that wants to take us even higher. So it's a fantastic expectation. It's a fine bias to have. And now let's see how he executed that bias specifically, okay? So as he drops down to the lower time frames, we can easily see that, again, we have the last down move from this high to this high. Again, remember, you always want to look at every market almost the same way. So where's your mentfx block, right? If you're looking at structure from that point of view, it's from this high to this low. And the validation of that comes from where? The trade above this. And the second we trade above that, we are valid, ultimately, to look for potential entries for bullish price action from the newly formed mentfx block, which is putting in order flow that is now potentially going to be bullish. So remember, you constantly, this is something that's actually really important, so write this down if you have to, you constantly exist in a limbo between bullish and bearish price action. And what's interesting is price will only move from supply and demand zones to other supply and demand zones, or as we like to say, from inefficiency to inefficiency. Always. Yes, so again, I just covered that a little bit. It was mitigated earlier, right? So it was mitigated, but he was looking at price after it began to make this run. So he said, okay, why is it making this run? It's coming most likely from here. Now again, you could go inside this price action and most likely find the area that was still unmitigated and what this actually ended up mitigating, but this is just as powerful and fine, because what he's doing is he's putting together most likely the idea of mentfx blocks that were left behind, structure breaks to the higher time frames, the move back that's coming into these zones, and now is potentially going to continue higher. His bias is put in place. You can't hear me. I think everybody else can. I don't know what's going on. Also, the mentfx block wasn't mitigated, the one before the OB. Oi, you mean before the zone? Chill. Okay. So either way, let's just keep working through this really quickly, and then if you have any questions on this specifically, we'll go over it in a second. So on the 4 hour, as you can see, just making that, just kind of working with that bias, we do have this last down move, this up move, right? That's not validating the zone yet until it trades above here. Now, as it does that, we validated potential future bullish order flow on the 4 hour. So we always exist on multiple time frames, and on this specific time frame, we've just validated this mentfx block right here. Okay. Give me a second, guys. Can everyone, there we go. It's all good. No worries. So on this specific, damn, I have to be typing fast. Thank you. So on this specific time frame, we do have this shift in mentfx block structure. Additionally, we have intermediary structure, candlestick-wise, which is starting to put in higher highs. Now, as it does this and it breaks higher, we leave behind imbalances. As you can see, most stuff gets filled on a specific time frame, but we leave behind this last down move, which we can refine to this zone, which, as you remember, can be refined to the last wick. So in this case, he had this last demand zone shown by the wick, which we'll again see on a lower time frame in a second, which is going to look most likely like an unmitigated demand zone. And as you can see, he found this demand zone 2.0 that was created after the tap into an older demand zone. So let's go down to the lower time frame to make sure it looks better. Okay, so exactly. He's put in potential bullish bias. The bullish bias is coming from an earlier, already mitigated demand zone, but it has moved from it, so it's fine to use it now. And now he's expecting price to come into the zone, as we can tell, and continue making new highs above the liquidity created by structure. So as he makes his way down to the 30-minute in this case, you can see that he begins to refine that last down move. Instead of using this last down move right here that has been mitigated, as you can see with this move here, he used the actual mitigation before the continuation. So this on its own is what you can call demand zone 2.0 if you'd like to, but it's a wick, and he used the 50% of that. 30-minute, notice the new demand zone that was created on after the tap into the previous demand zone, exactly. So like I said, price may be looking to tap into that. So again, he doesn't know if the tap into it is going to happen, first of all, and he also does not know if when we tap into it, we are going to meet higher prices. This is something that's very crucial to a lot of your own understandings. When you have an area or a zone, you need to preemptively decide what you're going to do when price gets to that zone. And you already have to know exactly what you're expecting if you are to have the mitigation that you want. Now, if that zone, and this is something I've brought up multiple times, but something that a lot of you need to recognize, if that zone is to be traded through, or even just tapped through, just a little bit, like a tiny wick like that. If this is your zone, there's a tiny little wick, just boop, that zone's invalidated. You're no longer looking for buys. You're no longer looking for your confirmations because you've had a zone and you have a bias preset in motion. And if that bias is by any means, even by 0.00001 pips mitigated, don't make that voice again. So if that's mitigated just by a tiny little bit, that shit's done. You do not want to be trading that zone anymore, because what's happening is when you decide on a demand zone like this, right, of some sort, what you're actually doing, right, from a logical perspective, is you're saying this is the last area that institutions or smart money or the competent man had to sell into buys. So he, as long as he remains above that area, he's only coming there to mitigate prior orders to continue to new highs above structure. So the second we trade below that, what we're actually doing is we're taking out that last down move. We're letting everybody that had been trapped, if they were trapped when they got sold into before the big buy, get out of the position, which means our bias no longer is remaining at that low, right? So I've seen this happen quite a few times, where someone may have a zone of some sort, price comes into it, right, begins to do some kind of Wyckoff, never really shifts, no real shift of structure, no Wyckoff confirmation, nothing like that, right? The dip below it, just a tiny little bit, just like that. And then the move above. Oops, that doesn't work here. So we have Wyckoff happening like this. You get the tiny move through and the move above. At this point, I've seen people want to trade the last demand zone here, and sometimes it might work, or even when the Wyckoff gets confirmed, when we trade above the AR, of course, or make the new mentfx block off the last down move before the up move, people are looking to enter this stuff. And as they do, you might see a little bit of profit or something like that, and then you have it trade through. And everyone, goes in and they wonder what happened. Why are they losing money? How is this not working? Well, it's because it's not part of your system, right? This right here has shifted your area of interest or your demand zone or whatever into a potential new bearish structure. Because the second we shift through this, we're no longer holding, right? So let's say even on Euro US dollar right now, and again, we'll do a top down on this together in a second, but we have this last demand zone, and that's fine. A lot of you might be looking at this demand zone and want to be traded into. It might not be. We are putting in some potential bullish structure here, so we're ready to potentially go higher off here. And it's kind of interesting that price closed there. I was actually expecting this, but price closed right off the last demand zone here. So this is really interesting. I think that we might see a run up. Not 100% sure. I literally don't know. But it was just really interesting that price closed like that. Now, if we go to the 15-minute and we look at this demand zone, we can all agree that if price is to come into here and give us something of this sort, we are happy to go for buys here or confirmation buys inside of there, or mentfx block 2.0 confirmations, right? So you have mentfx block 2.0 entry, right? This is perfectly valid. But the second we see this same price do something of this nature, where we come down, Wyckoff starts selling climax, AR, ST, STB, spring, trade above. At this point, The fact that we made a 0.01, whatever this might have been, pip movement below the zone, we've actually shifted. Not 100%, we don't know. Maybe it's just a liquidity grab before higher prices are met. But the reality is we've shifted. And when this happens, if it does happen, you shouldn't be surprised why Wyckoff in this case, or even the mentfx blocks, or even structure didn't hold. Because you've put together a guaranteed bias. And if that bias is ever traded through, guys, we're not drawing these rectangles on the chart for fun, right? We're not putting them here going, yeah, we got our little box, but we don't need to trade it. Like, what's the point of drawing the box if you're not going to actually trade the box? There's a reason you put these in. There's a reason you find structure. There's a reason you look how it breaks momentously. And there's a reason you put in the actual high, whatever it might be, or even the body, right? And when you do that, you're already presupposing a guaranteed move in the market. And the presupposed move is that price wants to come in here, accumulate, and take higher liquidity. Now, that's fine. But the second prices, and this is also an emotional side of things, if prices come into here and just do this, okay, you're not wrong about shit. There's nothing you're wrong about with the zone being an area of interest. If any of you have this area of interest right now, guess what? You are perfectly correct. This is a beautiful demand zone with a beautiful break of structure higher, with a beautiful mentfx block that was left from this high to this low. But at the same time, we're starting to put in that same time frames higher highs. So when we break this right here, we're already putting in bearish structure. Now, just because we're putting in bearish structure on this specific time frame does not mean that we are going to remain bearish all the way down here, right? It just means that we might be bearish into this higher time frame here, this higher time frame area here. And again, if we go to the 30-minute or even a 25-minute, this might look like still the last low. For instance, if we go to a 25-minute, right? There's now no question that this is still the low before the move, right? Price broke structure here or here, whatever you want to use, from now you can potentially say this overall demand zone, and again, the unmitigated one, which would be this last candle right here, and this is now perfectly valid as well as its own demand zone. And you can see that structure has not put in higher highs or anything. But now if this right now were to make this run here, we've put in new bullish structure at these new lows. So if price was to come here and you were to start to just buy it, even on a risk entry, just buy it, and this happens, it's not because what we teach here doesn't work. It's because you literally forgot about the fact that structure has shifted already, and now you're trading the opposite side of that, which is why, again, you're looking for confirmation. And again, when this happens, or this happens, you're not wrong about your analysis. The only time your analysis is actually going to be considered quote-unquote wrong is when either you enter prematurely on an already defined system, or you don't define your system and just enter, right? What's funny is your analysis can be fully correct and you can still lose, but that doesn't mean your analysis was still wrong. It just means that it was an unlucky trade. Because when you have a system that you've put in place that you know works, that you've backtested multiple times, and you know you can actually trade properly, the only way that it goes to shit is if you literally emotionally fuck yourself. That's it. Okay, that's ultimately how this entire market works. And the market, like I said, the composite man, whatever you want to call him, he's a sly motherfucker. He will find ways to make you begin the FOMO into stuff. And a lot of you have this question where, okay, I have a zone. Price comes just a little bit there and then takes off. Okay, but I want to get in. So next I'm going to enter in earlier, right? But the thing is, the second you make that decision, you're already limiting or changing up your system. Similarly, you've had times where price comes in, comes higher, and then drops. And now you want to get in again. You're FOMOing, and other times, because you've seen this happen so many times, and you're afraid of missing it, or for instance, you have price, let's draw this out, or for instance, you have price come in, give you some kind of Wyckoff, right? And then you don't get an entry and it just drops off. You're like, okay, because I see it drops off, next time, even though I don't have Wyckoff confirmation, I'm going to get in. Next time price comes in, and you see something like this happen, you're like, okay, no, not even that. Let's say something like this. So structure's still bullish. You're like, okay, Wyckoff's happening, and I'm afraid that I'm going to miss it, so let me just get in here, or let me just get in here. And the second you get in, something like this can happen. And the second that happens, you go in and you go, why did this lose? Why am I losing? This doesn't make any sense. Why am I losing? Well, the reality is because there was never any confirmation. You didn't wait for your actual system to be put in place to actually start giving you the trades you want to be, and you've now changed your entire system because you've seen a number of this happen, a number of this happen, or a number of this happen. This will happen. A part of trading is understanding that you're not going to be part of every single move unless you're me, okay? So you just need to work your way through all that and understand that over time, with this understanding about how to actually get involved, you'll start to actually see ways to actually then continue to get involved in certain areas, right? So like for instance, if this isn't to happen, and instead, let's say it doesn't tap into this lower zone, but it taps into this one and continues higher, that doesn't mean you've missed anything. It just means that we've now shifted to a new potential demand zone, and we can again look for potential entries here. Now again, same thing can happen. It might not shift into here, it might do this, and shift again. We have a new demand zone. Now, as it comes down into it, it might shift into it. We might have no confirmation, and it might drop into here. We might think we're bearish, but then we get an accumulation here. You're still good to go for buys if you have these biases laid out, because in a higher time frame, this is still going to be a good valid demand zone, which is still valid under overall mentfx blocks, which might not be valid with candlestick structure, but is valid with other structure. Because what does this market do? It is delivered to you in a multitude of ways. There isn't just candlestick structure. There is also mentfx block structure. There is also multi-level large order flow structure. And on top of that, you have multiple back and forths within all that by way of other time frames. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense to you guys concerning your actual entries and how to understand that, you know, when you have something like this happen, it's not that you're wrong. It's not that you're missing anything. It's just that it's just trying to trick you. Sly as shit. But the thing is, also, shit, I forgot. I lost my mindset. I lost my mind there for a second. Never mind. We're just gonna continue with this then. All right, let's get rid of all this because I want to be able to go over this with you guys in a second. When can we expect to see a series on Wyckoff? In 1 to 2 weeks. I'm done in 1 week, and then I'll go. Yeah, the crack wore off. Let me get some more coffee. One sec, guys. Hold on. You have to exercise patience. Yes, exactly. Okay, so okay, I got it. I'm back on my crack shit. Psychologically, we as even humans, like, let's get into some spiritual shit here, but as humans, we psychologically are very good at liking to experience the good and experiencing it in multitudes, but we're really, really bad at experiencing the bad. And as a lot of you know, even in death, in times like that, like, you can look at anything in life, whether it's eating, death, getting fired, just a bad day or anything like that. Your entire good week, let's say you went to Belize or something, you had an amazing week in the ocean and whatever, or the sea, whatever it is. I don't know what they got there. But you're having an amazing week, 5 days straight, and on the sixth day, the last day you're there, you know, you fight with your spouse, you get bitten by a shark, whatever it may be. You basically make it out that entire trip ultimately sucked, right? We're very good at making the bad overshadow all the good. And the reason that I say this, and the reason that I find it very important and bring it up here, is because when you're on a string of really, really good trades, and you've caught, like, you know, you've caught 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 10, 1 to 5, or something of that sort, and then you get hit by, you know, a -1, then a break even, then a -1, then a break even, a break even, a break even, a break even, and then a partial. You think that you're doing something wrong, and that or even your trade's missed by that tiny little pip over and over and over again. You forget that you just made some beautiful trades. Like, those go out of the window, and all you care about is the fact that you're missing trades, and you're worried about how you can get them back, right? And that's when the emotional side steps in. That's where the bad overshadows the good, and you forget why you're trading and how you're trading in the first place, right? So again, it was a weird anecdote, but the point of it is that this has happened to a lot of you, and it's happened to me, so I know it's happened to you, is that you will always overshadow all the good trades you make, all the great analysis you make, all the bad trades you stay out of, with the bad trades that you potentially break even on multiple times, the bad trades that you lose a few times in a row, or things of that nature, right? And that can easily overshadow you, easily cloud your judgment, and quickly you can, you know, blow an account. That's how it happens. It's happened to me in the past, so I know it's happened to you. If it didn't, then you're really lucky, and you don't want to go down that path, and you want to continue to work on yourself. But that's always something. Yeah. So break even is always better than 1%, -1%. Exactly, right? There are so many times where I've just broken even on trades that have ran an insane amount. I mean, I'm sure you saw the gold trade, for instance. Okay, well, that one actually ran 1 to 50 before breaking even. But if it didn't, it overall did run our, like, 1 to 600 or 1 to 500, whatever it was. It ran an insane amount. Yeah, that shit ran 1 to 300, right? Now, the reality is, a part of me says, oh, fuck, I missed my 1 to 300. Like, I should have just stayed in. I should have got in. I should have just kept it open. Right? And that will overshadow your next trades without realizing that you just ran 1 to 50 on a fucking trade. You know, that, like, it's hard to sometimes look at all the good, especially if you're, you know, first of all, trading is a very, very individual thing, right? Unless you're like part of mentfx and you're in the group. But even then, if you're trading on your own and you're actually taking your own trades, it can be very, very easy to disconnect from the entire world and get into this like literally crackhead mode, like almost like a heroin type mode where you're like, I need the next hit, I need the next hit, let me get the next fucking trade. And all of a sudden, you're just losing trades. And you're losing more and more. And then you up your risk, you want a martingale, you're like, I got this back, I gotta get this back, I'm a good trader, blah, blah, whatever it might be. I've done this all the time. I've done this multiple times. Not anymore, really. But, you know, spent 11 years in the industry, so I learned a lot about myself over time. And that's, again, why I manage the way I manage and I trade the way I trade. And again, for a lot of you, it's different. But I kind of wanted to go off a little rant on how emotionally, how easy it is to disconnect from your own system, especially after, you know, even think about this. If you started trading this Monday, or even today when market opens, and you see a beautiful trade and you enter it, and you hit, let's say 1 to 2, you partial, if you do, let's say you partial, and then it runs 1 to 20, and you're sitting there going, oh shit, I missed 1 to 20, you know, like I didn't get all that. Or like let's say you partial again at 1 to 10, and then it runs 1 to 50, but you don't make as much as you wanted to. Now you're sitting there going, shit, okay, well, I still made a lot, so I'm really happy. My account balance is up for the week, so I'm great. But overall, on this 1 to 10, 1 to 20, whatever it might have been, you made a total of, let's say, 3 to 4 RR. Now, at the same time, the next trade you take, let's say Monday, you lose 1. You're like, that's fine. I'm up 3 RR for the week. You take another. You lose it. Okay, I'm up 2 RR for a week. It's not bad. You lose another. You're at 1 RR plus for the week. You're like, okay, I'm still up, so I'm happy, because that's how our brains work. We're like, oh, we're still up a little bit. We're really happy. We're fine. Next trade you take. Well, because I don't want to lose it, and I'm a little bit scared, I'm going to break even early. Okay, your system's getting changed a little bit now. Okay, breaks even, then runs 1 to 30. You sit there going, oh, fuck, I knew it. Okay, I'm just going to get back in. Get back in. It's going into drawdown. Now I'm not going to break even. It goes up 1 to 5. Now I'm not going to partial yet because I understand that I want to make back the shit I lost, and I'm sick of taking all these break evens. Loses. Oh shit, I'm at 0. I'm up 0 for the week. Okay, let me find the next trade. And now it sets in, right? And the emotions start hitting. And I mean, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but this has happened to me multiple times. The emotions start hitting, and all of a sudden, you're just trying to funnel yourself into trades, trying to find anything. Maybe you're looking at the group trades, maybe you're looking at the mentfx trade ideas, and you're just trying to find any option to make some of that money back, because you need to make it back, you know? It's like, you're like, there's no way I can lose all this money. I was just up 4RR. What the hell happened in the last one day? So, I don't know. This was my little rant on psychology. Remember that you have amazing trades, and that you've had tons of amazing trades, and people in the group have had tons of amazing trades, and recognize that you are going to have feelings, and you're going to have shit trades that make you feel like you don't know shit. But the best way that you're going to be successful when that does happen, because it will happen to you, is by thinking and remembering that a part of trading is understanding that the sly motherfucker on the other end is going to make you feel that way sometimes. And then you'll be fine. So don't get emotional over your stuff. All right. Let's see what everyone said, because I haven't really been reading. I've just been kind of ranting. Exactly, man. Yeah. I'm a stats and business analytics major, and my friend is a psychology major, and 9 10 times we argue about partials like crazy. It really is a tug of war between profit and safety. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I made my choice very late, of course, because, you know, I took enough ass beatings, but I made the choice very late to say, okay, I'm always going to partial at structure, whatever it might be for me. And that partial at structure could be 1 to 2, could be 1 to 3, could be 1 to 4, could be 1 to 0.5. Okay? And of course, a partial of 1 to 0.5 after losing, let's say, 1 or 2 trades feels like nothing. But part of it is understanding that over enough time, the edge is always going to bring you back up. And as long as you constantly stick to your edge and never diverge from it, you'll be fine. But the important thing about understanding your edge in the first place is not trading until you know what you do works. And that comes with either back testing, either forward testing, journaling, learning, watching, so on and so forth, right? On repeat. There shouldn't be a time in the market where you're sitting there going, oh shit, okay, at mentfx, do you think I should exit here? What should I do? Because, I mean, it's fine to ask that if you're still in the learning phase, if you're still forward testing or something of that sort. But if you're in an actual trade and you're reaching out to me or someone in the group asking if you should be partialing or how you should be managing, then you haven't actually secured or understood what your edge is or how you're going to actually enter trades, right? Because, as I've said to many, as other people have said as well, 20% of this game is strategy. What you guys know here is 20% of the actual strategy. Section 3, when it's out, Section 4, when it's out, all of that is 20% of the actual things that you are learning. Okay, it's 20%. Now, again, we're going to go over psychology. We're going to go over risk management. This is part of that. Maybe I'll have this in the psychology section. But 80% of what you're actually doing is all up to the emotions, the psychology, and the risk management aspect of things. And if you don't understand those things, or if you're trading real money without understanding those things, you will lose in the long run. Just like, and I've spoken about this in the past, for instance, hedge funds, right? Like, look at Melvin after GameStop. The reality is people with a shit ton of money are no different from our shitty emotions. Their emotions are just as bad as ours, but because they have more money, they have more, they have a cushion for failure. Most of the time, their cushion, because they have so much money, will allow them to get out of that failure really quickly, and they're all good, right? That's the same thing of us losing some money, upping our lot size, making that money back and going, phew, whew. They can do that multi-thousand number of times. However, the one time it will fail is the time they'll go bankrupt, just like they did, almost, until they got bailed out by their friends. And guess what? We don't have friends that are millionaires or billionaires, and even if we did, they're not going to bail us out. If any of you, as some of you know in the welcome message, if any of you messaged me and said, oh, I blew my account, this shit doesn't work, I want my money back so I can trade more, you're already part of that. You're asking for the bailout. You're not learning at all. That's not how you're going to become a profitable trader. So again, you have to recognize that everybody undergoes the same thing, including banks, right? Some of the top banks that are not the composite men do the exact same thing. They lose a fuck ton of money, and they'll keep losing money, and they get back usually because of the cushion they have. Their risk management is also, on some level, absolute dog shit, just like ours. So recognize that it's a universal problem. It's not just a problem that occurs that is just connected to us, right? Let's keep working through some of this. Sorry, I just went off again. Psychology is like 90%, 10% technical. Yeah, so I say 80-20, but exactly. Like, psychology is fucking insanely huge. Your GP, 1 hour time frame. Kindly take a look. It looks like a good opportunity. Thanks. So let's take a quick look for you. This looks like a support and resistance line to me, and I do not like to look at that. Never show me another support and resistance line. Okay, I'm kidding, but 1 hour time frame. It looks good for what? I have no idea what it looks good for. But maybe we tapped into this mentfx block up here, if there is one. Potentially we're distributing. We have some liquidity here. This was overall maybe an accumulation. We broke above here. We could be heading towards this demand zone. I mean, like, you got to show me the opportunity. I don't know exactly what we're talking about here. What he's saying is facts. Thank you. Yes, exactly. It hasn't happened to you. It will. Exactly. If it hasn't happened to you, it most likely will, unless you understand how stuff like this can happen and then prevent it, because you understand, the end goal for yourself, right? Like, there's some people, and I bet there are, but it's a very rare few that have gotten into trading, have learned to trade, never lost money in their life, and have already the psychological, emotional, fortress built for their trading. You have, I would guess 0.0001% of traders, right? Like, 1 in every 100,000, not even 100,000, much less, I think, have the emotional well-being for never losing a trade and just learning a strategy and then applying it, right? But if you're that type of person, then that's fantastic. Otherwise, if you're like most people, especially like me, I'm like fucking terrible with my emotions. Well, I was, and I've gotten a lot better. Then, you got to work on some stuff. And if I could do it, then a lot of you that are much more emotionally stable than me could do it as well. For sure, bro. Happened with me last week. Exactly. So this is why I'm kind of going over it, because I know that a lot of us have gone through it. I know we've all experienced it. So it's really important to, make note of it, understand that you're not in the wrong for it, but also you need to address it because it's going to be a huge part of your actual trading. I think the accumulation looks good. Anton, kindly take a look. Thanks. So I just took a look. We're taking a look here. There's definitely an accumulation. It happened over a very long time. There's just a lot of wicks back and forth. But if you want to look at it, you have the selling climax, the AR, the ST, the SOS and B, potential ST and Bs liquidating some lows here. Then you have your spring. This is your sign of strength. We're getting the backup right now. So again, if I was to trade this, I'd be looking for buys already at the overall mentfx block, or potentially at this demand zone here for confirmations inside here. But make sure you check the higher time frame, because I'm pretty sure the higher time frame off of maybe a 4 hour could be still bearish from here. So again, there's going to be a fine opportunity here, most likely with mitigation. That could come into these supply zones up here. So, partial zones, stuff like that. But definitely it's fine. Like, if you want to trade this, I myself don't like it too much. It's just, it's okay. Just look for the confirmations. And also, is there a point for this? support resistance, or is this just a way to see liquidity? Bro, you step-by-step described my first FTMO challenge. Yeah, same here, guys, same here. That's what happened with my first FTMO challenge as well. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. Especially when, you know, you open an account with 100K in it, like, shit, that's more money than you've ever seen in your life. And at that point, it's like, you either think of it as a demo, or you can't lose any of it, right? Because you lose $1,000, and even though it's 1%, you look at that and you say, fuck, how am I ever going to get that back, right? And then it goes to shit. Yeah, man, I had to mute y'all profit makers in the group when I'm losing. Exactly, yeah. It's very easy to be caught up in this. And again, like, it's not even about being part of a group where people are sending amazing trades and catching stuff left and right. The thing is, this will happen with anything. Whether, if you're on Instagram and you see people making any trades, any money, even if they're just not even making trades and they just have a Lambo and they're like, yeah, learn to trade like the best. You're like, fuck, I gotta get the trade. And then all of a sudden you're losing money, right? Or if you're watching a YouTube video and you see someone looking at demand and supply zones and trading them perfectly, you're like, I can do this. This is so easy. And then you start funneling into that. Even without them actually trading, you start funneling into things that you see. You start looking at your own charts. You see anything that looks like anything you've seen in the past. And you're like, oh my God, this will work. I can't miss this. I need to get in. Same thing happens, right? So whether you're in a group or not in a group, you're going to have this happen one way or another. If anything, being in a group is even better because you literally have to have the composure to watch, we have like 500 people in here, to watch 500 people potentially post trades that they're taking, amazing trades let alone, and watch them go by, you know, as opportunities that you missed. But in reality, you just need to recognize that they're not opportunities you missed, they're future opportunities that you're going to catch. That's it, right? So just make that mini distinction in your own mind because that can change everything for you. Loss will happen. Don't take it personal. Exactly. You're not a bad trader. If losses happen, you're getting slide by the composite man. You're being tested. Let it be a test. Don't let it be account blown. Just be fake mad. Losses equals lessons. Not always. Not always. Losses are only lessons if you end up taking those losses and transferring them into revenge trading and then losing your account. Then they're a lesson. And they say, you know, next time you have a loss, don't fucking revenge trade it. You know, that's the lesson you learn from that type of loss. But if you have a strategy and a system in place that you know works and you have a loss, it's not a lesson. It's just a little slap on the wrist that says, yo, you know, it doesn't hurt. It's a slap on the wrist. Just wait till the next one, right? I literally, if you told me for the rest of my life, if I had to get slapped on the wrist, you know, every day for whatever, like 10K a day, you'd be like, all right, sounds good. It's the same thing here. If you're willing to take the slaps on the wrist for, you know, months after months after months for your entire life, and you know that it's not going to hurt you, then you can become infinitely profitable. If that, right? Like, you guys have to understand that this is probably the most rewarding job in the entire world if you get it down. Otherwise, it can be the easiest way to lose all your money. And that's why, you know, you have people that get really upset when they do. When we upload the 2-hour trading on Bitcoin, I think it's actually uploaded. So after this, I will have that available to all of you. And again, just so you understand, we're going to talk about, actually, let's talk about this right now. Oh, here's my nice little FTMO account. 50K. We finally got our account. I'm so excited. We're about to destroy this market. But let's go over here to Bitcoin. I'm just going to show you guys exactly what happened. So as you can see, with all of this in here, and this was not part of the video, so I'm going to delete that. But that was something that I was looking at even after because I went to sleep, so I wanted to stop recording. Or was this on the 1 minute, whatever it might have been. Okay, cool. So inside of this, it might not look like it, but when you guys rewatch the recording, if you do watch it, you can see that all these trades didn't really run, right? Like these are very, very tiny trades. Now, similarly, these trades could have ran 1 to 30, 1 to 50, 1 to 60, and it wouldn't have changed the way I would have approached them. Now, what's interesting as well, you'll see it all too. These weren't 3 trades that were all profitable. There was a loss right here, and there was another loss in here, I believe. So you're going to see those 2 losses as well. And despite those 2 losses, overall, on the end of this trading right here, this 1, 2, 3, the overall RR gain was about 3.5 or 4R, right? And if you really want to look at that over the time that it happened, I think it was 2 hours. Yep, 2 hours. 2 hours to make 4%. Or, you know, based on what your risk is, that's 4% in 2 hours. With 2 losses and 3 wins, and the 3 wins that didn't even run, right? So this is the type of thing that will maybe even help some of you make the distinction between understanding that you don't need to be catching these fucking insane trades, and that you will catch insane trades, but part of catching them is taking losses, taking smaller trades, taking smaller partials, and getting broken even. That's part of it. Like even this trade right here, I wanted it to run to, I believe, these equal lows. The whole thing started with me talking about how these equal lows I wanted to see them cleared because I was seeing, for instance, selling climax, AR, or even selling climax, AR, ST, SOSB, STB making equal lows, and I was expecting a spring the whole time. But despite that, we still bought here, right? And that's all part of confirming and working within ranges and all that stuff. And you'll see how we did all that in the video. Okay, so that'll definitely help some of you. And again, like there's literally no 1 to 20 in here. There's no 130. The highest trade was a 1 to 3.2. That's the highest trade you're going to see. And I mean, you guys have seen me post stuff beforehand when it was like 1 to 50s and stuff like that, so you know it's possible. But the point is, you know, this is crucial in your understanding. And again, I did this over the entire recording. You'll see me enter these prior. Well, not enter, but like throw them on. I honestly couldn't figure out the paper trading. It was so bad. So you guys will see that. But you'll see me manage these live and all that stuff. So a lot of you will be able to get in mind how I look at Wyckoff, how I look for the confirmations, how I get involved on it prior, how I get involved on it lower, how I mitigate risk, move break evens, stuff like that, partial, and how overall, even with 2 losses, this came out to about a +4 or +3.5 RR session, right? That's the point of trading, is understanding how you can do that even when you're not getting 1 to 30. And guess what? If any of these did run 1 to 30, that would have been maybe a 10 RR session, right? But overall, it's a profitable session, and this is a 2-hour session. And that's crucial in your own trading. Understanding that, you know, whether it goes to the moon or whether it goes just a tiny little bit, you're going to be making money if you're properly applying your own system and if you've tested it. I seem to keep making the mistakes of being in a trade, being plus a decent RR, but instead of taking it, I always try to let it run in the hope that it will get the big one. That's exactly what I just spoke about right here, right? So if you got into any of these with the hope that it was going to run to these highs, or got into the sell with the hope that it would run to finally equal lows, you would have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% in this session. On the other hand, if you properly mitigated or even broken even, you would have lost 2% total. Or if you partialed like I do, you would have made plus 3.5, right? So there's multiple aspects to it, definitely. And even if you weren't someone that is aggressive as me, isn't as aggressive as me, and you did end up breaking even on some of these trades and took those -2 losses, that's not a bad trading session. What that means is you properly applied your concept, you properly applied your system, and the next time that you do get the trade that you need to get, and let's say your normal RR that you only partial at is 1 to 10, then that next time you partial, you still have 3 more trades that you can use as a buffer technically to lose, and you'll still be profitable after that if you partial at a 1 to 10, and then potentially it runs even higher because you'll lock in 5, thereby it's break even, and then if it runs further, then you've made money, right? You have to realize that, you know, win rate's not everything. Even though I might have a higher win rate because of the way I partial, doesn't mean shit if I was still risking more than I make, right? Just like if any of you have a 30% win rate, but you're making about 10 RR every time you do win, that is a trading system that is pristine. That's an amazing trading system, even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. Real money always for me. That psychology hit different. Yeah. That welcome message is my favorite info in the Discord. Thank you. You're looking for buys. Yeah. So I went over that a little bit before. Can you finish the case study? Oh my god, yes, of course, my bad. Holy shit, we were looking at this, weren't we? Jesus Christ, I'm really bad at this, eh? Alright, so we have this wick. As you all remember, let's just go from the start. Daily comes into the zone, he's already seeing it mitigate. He goes lower, he sees the 4-hour mentfx blocks formed, or he sees the 4-hour candlestick structure put in new highs and looks at a potential area that can be a demand zone. Gets lower, refines that 30-minute demand zone because he realizes this one is mitigated, this one is unmitigated, refines it to 50%, or the overall one, whichever you want to do. Gets to the 5-minute, refines it to that zone right there, easy to see, unmitigated, last down move before an up move that began to break structure, left behind that demand zone, looking at either the 50 or the open, whatever it might be. He has that refined to his lower time frame 5-minute zone. He gets lower, 5-second zone. And this is going to be posted for all of you, don't worry. And he let me, so thank you so much, man, again. So again, undergoes accumulation, selling climax into the automatic rally, into the secondary test, creating equal lows. Again, he's not trading this because it hasn't given him setups yet. STB, he gets the sign of strength, potential sign of strength, move down into the spring. Now again, if you're looking at the spring, just look at this zone right here. You can see there's Wyckoff in there as well. So if you wanted to, you could wait for the extra confirmation of the selling climax, the AR, the ST, STB, move up, mentfx block formed. You get the entry right here if you wanted to. He didn't do that. He got the overall. He saw the break of structure higher, left behind the mentfx block, entered the original break to make sure he didn't miss the trade because we are in a lower time frame and there's a chance you can miss it, probably with less percentage. took on the open of the MB, and as price made a retrace, took it on the LPS, stops placed right below the test. So expecting this last demand zone, which you can see if you I mean, we can zoom in a little bit here. If you see, there's last down move before this up move, leaving behind imbalance. So it's an unmitigated last down move before the up move, entering on that, or at least 50% of it looks like, and took that to the promised land, higher. Okay, again, even though it ran what looks to be like, I think it's like 1 to 50, 1 to 40, 1 to 30 maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Whatever this might have ran, partials were still taken at this high. Now, when these partials were taken, you can see that this original trade, or if you took the partial of this original trade here, this RR right here, the lock-in of it, is still less than 1 RR, right? But because he was able to wait and get an even better entry, that same partial is also now giving him 1 to 7, 1 to 8. I don't know. I don't know how that looks. I think maybe a 1 to 8 RR. So he's locked in 4 RR on this trade and 0.5 on this one, locking in overall, what, 4.5 RR already. That's 4% locked in within, what, few minutes, right? Locked in within a few minutes, and then the trade runs. Now, the trade could have not ran, and he would have made money. Or in this case, it could run, and he made a shit ton of money. Both, like, either side of the coin could have happened there, right? And additionally, if you were someone that wanted to wait for the actual break of the AR, the SOS, to confirm the overall Wyckoff, watch what happens. Waiting for the confirmation. Waiting for confirmation. Still not confirmed with this high. As you can see, it didn't get above here. Maybe it did. I'm not sure. Boom. The break happens. Gets above the AR. At this point, you're valid to either trade the overall mentfx block, which is from the AR to the spring, and have stops below here. You're also valid to trade the last mentfx block, which is this mitigation right here. If you put a box around here, that's valid. You can see the entry at the open, so you had a little bit of drawdown before it took off, right? There's multiple ways to funnel yourself into this. And if you did not get this... So first of all, I would have probably gotten the entry of the test in here. He didn't do that. He wanted to wait for this one. For this break, that's fine. He waited for the break, he got involved here. He waited for the lower price action, got involved here. If you didn't want to even do that, you had another option here, right? If you didn't want to do that, price broke above, never really retested, so you probably wouldn't have gotten in right there, and then it kind of just took off, and then it just marked up, and there would be, you know, you could have expected price to come down maybe lower at some point here, like maybe a retracement into these areas. It didn't do that, so nothing to fret about. You didn't miss anything. There's not a missed opportunity. It just means that your system entries that you know works were not met, and that's it. And you wait for the next one, and that's part of trading. And until you make that realization that this is not a lost trade or a missed trade or anything like that, it's going to be very hard to technically be full on successful. Okay, is it just me, or is Corey walking around visible to everyone? I don't know what that is, man. Can you show us briefly through the replay tool what you would expect and how you would trade a demand zone or a supply zone 2.0, please? Shit, maybe. Let's go to Euro USD. Can you show us briefly through the replay tool how you trade it? I mean, so that's more so like the mentfx block, if anything, if you want to put it that way, because they on their own are their own demand supply zone 2.0s, right? So we have something like this, for instance. I don't know if you want to count this. Maybe I can do something better. Sure, we can just use this one. It's fine. Or even this one. There's multiple. So there's multiple demand zone 2.0s here, but let's say we have this last down move. You can say that that came from either here or from up here, right? Either one that you want to use. Let's just use this larger one for the sake of explanation. Here's your mentfx block. Price trades above, validates it, comes into it, trades above. It's validated 2.0, right? So this is a 2.0 demand zone now, or a 2.0 mentfx block. Now you're valid to trade this. Now, price comes into it. As price comes into it, where does that come into it from? Does it come into it there? Yeah, it does. That comes into it from either here or here. You can use either, but it comes into it lower, which is fine. This low came in from either here or here. Again, subjective, but let's just use the higher one because it's easier. Comes into it. That's another demand zone 2.0. Comes into it. You're fully valid for buys here again, non-stop. Again, and this can happen on all time frames. I'm just showing you on this one for the sake of explanation. Comes into it. What's the move that came into here? Again, subjective. You could use either this one right here. And if you did, you can see you have multiple ones that formed on the way up. Demand zone 2.0. Got mitigated here. Demand zone 2.0 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 got mitigated here, and then lost. Okay, but if you use the larger one, so again, subjectivity, then you'd wait for the validation above here. Gets validated. This is a new demand zone 2.0. You can be trading any of this inner price action from this open to this 50%. So this is all valid for buys. What's the move that came into this demand zone, you can either say it's this one. So it was this one at the time, but it never got validated. And then it became this one. Okay. And now you can either use this or this. So let's use the highest one because it's easier. Trades through demand zone 2.0, trades into it. Where does this low get formed from? Either here or here. Let's just use the overall. Trades through it. Where's new demand zone? This whole thing. Does it get traded to here? No. Wait for it to get traded to. Boom. What made this low? The demand zone. Either this one or the overall one. Demand zone 2.0. Trades above. What trades into it? This down move. That's all valid for buys. What makes that low? Boom. Trades above. New demand zone 2.0. Finally fails. Right? But these are all demand zone 2.0s. And they form the exact same way on all time frames. Or you can get even deeper and look at the actual mitigation. So if you want to look at actual time mitigate like this, right? So you have a demand zone, a mini one, right? So you don't have to do the mentfx blocks, but those are easier to explain because they are their own demand zones. Demand zone gets traded into, trades away. What demand zone forms at? Either you could say it's this last down move, or because we're working on multiple time frames at all times. Where was that? Where was that move? Here we go. Or you could say it was the actual last down move, which is this here. Let's do this. Maybe a 30-minute could see it better. Yeah, there you go. Demand zone gets traded into, makes this new last demand zone. That's demand zone 2.0. That's also valid for entries, right? And there you go, and takes off. So those are your demand zones and how you can use them as 2.0s to get in and funnel in. So hopefully that made sense. But also it showcased the mentfx block pretty well. So you can see how powerful that is on its own, especially if you want to, funnel yourself into entries or look for potential re-entries along the way, because mentfx block does what as well? Shows you overall structure, because it's literally showing you how order flow is being met and being held at certain points, right? Nonstop. So hopefully that made some sense to you. Let me know, Jazz, if that made some sense, all right? Lol, my man is the whip listening. Shit. Continuing on from my previous comment, I definitely wouldn't do it if I had a large account. I think it's because I'm trying to grow a small account. Yep. Can you show me an example or two of POI? I have problems finding one, and the meaning I can't get confirmations by Wyckoff and B's and S&D zones. I'm stuck finding a POI and then continuing testing and improving. We're gonna do a Euro USD top down in a sec, so we'll take a look at that in a sec. I want to make sure I work through all your questions and stuff, so give me a sec, guys. Sometimes I've even felt the opposite. Like if I've been taking L's, I feel scared to enter. Exactly, that's also a big thing. So if you've been taking losses or a string of them or breaking even, first of all, you need to have a set system. Not only do you need to have a set system for strategy and for management, but you also need a set strategy for how you're going to enter and how many times you're going to enter. Because guess what? Even in one POI, there's a chance to enter, like you've seen it before, even with that GJ. If you guys remember that week where we destroyed GJ, we had about 7 different entries in GJ and they were all profitable. But for instance, if I had 2 losses, I stop at a POI sometimes, unless I get more confirmation, right? Sometimes having a preset system as to how you're going to deal with losses at a specific area is very important too, because just because you have a POI does not mean it's going to hold. And just because you have a POI and it's constantly giving you potential confirmation does not mean it's going to hold as well. So for me, it's 2 losses, right? I'll take my 1 loss. If I take another loss, I'm done with that POI. I'll wait for price to give me a better idea about what it wants to do, right? Otherwise, I get in and I keep getting in if I have to, because I can keep re-entering with more profit, partials, enter, profit, partials, blah, 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 on and on and on and on, right? So if you do get this thing where you get really scared after taking L's, have a system, for instance, where you risk 1 RR, whether that be 0.5% or 1% on an entry, off of a confirmation, of course. And then if that fails, you only enter 1 more at half the risk of your original. And if that runs, you can make back the original, potentially, with proper management. Or if that doesn't work too, you wait till your next POI or bias is met, right? That's a very good way to manage risk as well. And again, we're going to have a section 4. So now that we're about to release section 3 and work on that, I'm going to have a section 4, I think, dedicated to specifically risk management, because there's so much to it. And a section 5 dedicated to psychology. And then I'll write a book for all of you. So we'll see how that goes. Are you going to post new Wyckoff videos? Yeah, of course. 1 to 2 weeks. Exactly. Yeah, Jazz got it. Patience. Patience, everyone. Yeah, focus on the stuff that you have available now, because even as I did this, I bet a lot of you didn't even know how well mentfx blocks can hold. So just testing some stuff like this can help a lot of you. That's what I meant, like accumulation. So I think this is the thing we're looking at. Yeah, this is the area I was looking at. I wouldn't just take this on its own. I don't trade like that. but this is valid as it is, right? You have the mentfx block. You don't have a confirmation mentfx block. You just have this overall one. You have accumulation here. You do have this breakout structure higher, leaving behind this demand zone. So under your parameters, if you've seen stuff like this work in the past, then you're good to go. If you don't know this is going to work, wait for it to play out, see how it plays out, and learn from your analysis. Otherwise, you know, if I was trading this, I wouldn't enter this because I haven't looked into how well this works. All I know is that if I did see Wyckoff here, then I know how I'm going to enter it, right? So that's a big part of trading, understanding your system. And again, like, I'm not a robot. I don't know the guarantee of any setup that you guys post working, but I do know, based on my own ways of refining and what I've seen in the past, the probability of something working, right? And the probability of something working under my ways of trading are a lot fucking higher than it not working, right? And even if it isn't, I know that the probability of the RR that I get out of all the trades I do is going to definitely compensate overall for the losses that are incurred, right? I removed the support and resistance line. Hope it looks better. Thank you, Collins. I was just messing with you, but yeah. Word, I study off everyone's charts and shout out to everyone for all breakdowns. Legit. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing watching some of you guys post some stuff. And what's interesting is you might not know this, but when you guys post something and I actually like the markup, I'll go in on my own chart and take it, right? Like, based on my own confirmations as well, of course, but I'm not just the only genius here. There's some of you that are absolutely insanely good traders. You might not know this because you might be like, you might think that you're under me hierarchically, whatever you want to call it. But the reality is, a lot of you here, potentially even under your management, might have a better system than me, even, right? But it's about how you execute it. That's all it's going to matter. And a lot of you are like fantastic, and a lot of you that aren't yet will get there if you properly dedicate yourself. Okay. Yeah, you need to learn with a loss. If you don't learn, losses are just losses. Yeah, sure. Hey man, could you share your views on this and advise when the best entries would be? Let's just look at it really quickly. So you have a 1 hour chart, definitely putting in lows, selling climax, AR, ST. So this is probably a schematic on a higher time frame, most likely. From what I can see, a potential 4 hour or even a 8 hour time frame. This is a better Wyckoff. So we have this spring, but the spring doesn't really... It liquidates, but it doesn't take off relatively quickly. But as it takes off, it does undergo another Wyckoff in here. So you had opportunities to enter on this mentfx block or even on this one after this high was made. So there's a beautiful entry there. We've just came back to that zone. Definitely nothing unmitigated here. So you'd have to go on a lower time frame to see what's unmitigated in here and see if you have any Wyckoff or breaks of structure inside of here. If you do, I'd look for confirmation off of the demand zones formed here to see higher prices. However, at the same time, we haven't broken the AR or the SOS yet. So we haven't actually confirmed this overall Wyckoff schematic, and if anything, this is a mitigation of this right here, and you can see that that's met with very bearish pressure, so just be careful. There still could be buy opportunities here that come up into these supply zones before coming lower. Otherwise, just be cautious of the fact that this could just break down and continue breaking down. But overall, definitely, if we do see this, there's going to be a fine opportunity either on the buy up, on the buyback, whatever it's called, in this area that might have another accumulation, might be testing the overall mentfx block, or on one that comes even deeper into some other areas of demand down here, right? So that's how I would look at this, just from a 1 hour. But definitely try to spot it on an 8 hour. I think this might be a really nice 8 hour overall Wyckoff schematic, and it might help you gauge where you're at in price. But the fact that we've made this slow run up after making these huge down pushes, slow run up, huge down push, just leads me to believe more so that this might be a redistribution or a continuation downwards than it is an accumulation. But that said, I might be fully wrong, and you should just trade it under your bias, right? Your rule of 2 losses in a POI is golden. I adopted that. Thank you. Hold on, I gotta take a drink of my coffee in 1 sec. Let's continue. I'm on a journey with Corey G. Oh, for real though, looks like we in Florida. Hey, that was my trade, lol. Oh, nice. Anton, sometimes price form a demand or supply zone, then just flies from it without tapping it and start forming new supply and demand zones on its road up. Are these new supply and demand zones valid to trade, or I have to wait for the first supply and demand zone to be mitigated? They are valid. Just have proper confirmation and get into them, right? Like I said, if you have a POI isn't met, you don't want to funnel yourself in. Instead, if price does begin to break structurally, whatever it may be, then you have new POIs that are formed, and that's fine. You can use those, but you still have to be cognizant of the fact that you have lower ones as well. Again, like, just because you had, let's say, this demand zone here and it never got mitigated by this doesn't mean you can't be watching all this price action, because there's a ton of price action here, right? and you could be selling up here, you could be buying inside of here, but you just need to have a bias that you preset. That's the most important part. You don't want to look at something and then go, oh, you know, it's tapping into this, I want to buy it now. Instead, you want to look at this and say, okay, we have the break of structure here, most likely on a lower time frame, so I could see potential buys from these demand zones. If price is to come into this demand zone and mitigate this with giving me Wyckoff, I'm happy to buy it to potentially this high as a partial, or even higher in these supply zones that have been unmitigated, left behind potential imbalances. And if we partial here, I want to see price get above these highs, confirming this, potentially look for re-entries on the buy up, looking to come into this last supply zone up here that's been unmitigated and has a ton of imbalances, as well as this overall mentfx block, which has never been mitigated, right? And after that bias is formed and you have that in your mind, now you can trade it. But if you're just looking at this going, we just got under, tapping in this, I want to buy, you're going to most likely lose money over time, right? You don't want to approach something from a FOMOing perspective. You want to approach something from a perspective that you've already formed and then get in on it. No, supply and demands. Yeah, supply and demands is official. Exactly. Dude, come on. Whose case study is this? Oh, this is Lotus Void, also Kevin, known as Kevin. And we'll have it posted after because I think it was a beautiful breakdown and I think it very well highlights what we do. With the exception of the fact that it wasn't tapping into a daily area that was unmitigated, the fact that he recognized that there was a mitigation of an area that's already mitigated, but then waited for a confirmation is exactly what I'm trying to explain with this, right? So even though there was a mitigation there, it didn't stop him from saying, okay, I'm not going to use it. It just made him go, okay, I'm going to wait for extra confirmation before I get in. And guess what? He found extra confirmation by finding unmitigated zones on lower time frames and then getting in on those using confirmation and stuff of that sort. Is it possible to make a strategy only using the mentfx blocks without Wyckoff? Yes, sir, it is. Wyckoff isn't needed. Exactly. It's not needed at all. I just like to use it because it's just the way that my system works for me. But mentfx blocks, if anything, are even more powerful. They're absolutely phenomenal. Like you just saw what we did with Euro USD. Of course, we looked at an actual markup, so there was a lot more better looking opportunities. And guess what? There's not always going to be amazing mentfx block opportunities like that, but very powerful. Even here, if we want to look at it, mentfx blocks formed. At this wick, you can see that it tests right here, continues lower. mentfx block, continues lower. Tests it, mentfx block, from this wick to that wick, continues lower. mentfx block, potential, doesn't validate it. mentfx block confirms it, comes lower, breaks this, new mentfx block, finally fails, okay? Makes a new mentfx block from here to here, mitigates it, gets higher, creates a new mentfx blocks from here to here, fails, makes a new one from here to here. Test the open, I think, maybe not, actually, continues way lower. Okay, fantastic. We still know that we want to get up here to test this overall mentfx block, but as we do that, we come and break this. The second we break this, we have a mentfx block from here to here, boom. Test it, goes higher. From here to here, or even from here to here is a mentfx block, test it, goes higher. From here to here is a mentfx block, test it, goes higher. mentfx block, on and on and on. Finally testing this overall one, dropping off. As it drops off, if it gets below this, or even gets below this, that's an overall mentfx block, which we can use to get into sells on the way. mentfx blocks are fucking crazy. Only with mentfx blocks, no. But no, you can. But you definitely, like, you can literally only trade mentfx blocks and find a mentfx blocks on a higher time frame and then confirm it with smaller mentfx blocks, right? You can literally trade only mentfx blocks. That's fine. But I just don't because I like to have the confirmation that I use. Super stuff, man. Thank you. Fucking hell, Kevin. Funny story behind that trade. What's the R? You miss it. All right, we'll keep going. Gold still got you some good RR. Nice. Official breakdown either way. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Damn, I missed that gold setup. Damn. Yeah, I posted that one. If you're talking about the one to 50, if that's the one you're talking about right now. Wyckoff is needed. People in this chat are profitable from just trading. Oh, isn't needed. Yeah, you're right. I think you made a mistake there. People in this chat are profitable from just trading breaks of structure and shit. Exactly. Yeah. You don't need Wyckoff. Wyckoffs need to know which bias you are in. Not at all. Wyckoff complements your bias. Your bias is determined by structure, supply and demand zones, and mentfx blocks. So you actually don't need Wyckoff at all if you don't want it. Just so you know. How can I avoid over refinement of S&D zones? Don't over refine them. Stick to higher time frames. Definitely, like probably that's just don't over refine them. That's pretty much it. I don't know how to. Yeah, like if you have a demand zone and you like it on a daily, then use that demand zone. But if you think it's too big, refine it. And if that refinement doesn't get met, understand why it didn't get met, right? It's just about your own preference. Definitely. I mean, Wyckoff isn't needed. Yeah. Anton, chill, bro. You speak too fast. I'm sorry. You can slow it down after though, because it's going to be on YouTube. I can't control my own voice though. It just moves. Markets move even faster. Got to keep up. True. I'm getting you guys I'm getting you guys set up. I only need to watch the replay. True. Are you sponsored by Red Bull? Bro, I wish. That'd be great. Heading out, everyone. See you on the charts tomorrow. Ready to kill it this week. Yeah, see, I know we're at an hour, so usually some people start leaving at that point. But see you, JJ. Good luck. I know that you've been killing it after you came back after your break, so that's fantastic. That's perfect. Good explanation. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I think I posted my question twice, so ignore that. Gotcha, man. About how many trades do you take per week? How many should I aim for to accumulate, see growth in account? The only way you will see growth. The only thing you need to see growth in your account is a positive RR every month. Okay. The amount of trades you take will not determine that. The type of trades you take will determine that. Okay, that's the most important thing. How many trades do I take? If you're asking me specifically, again, this is not a number that you need to actually aim for because it doesn't mean shit. I could tell you 50 right now. I could tell you 1 right now, and they could be both profitable. Okay, that's very important. But on myself, it just depends on if I'm on. If I'm on and I'm watching the charts and it's low spread, I could get 3 to 4 trades in a day. Sometimes I'll take 1 trade in a week. Like this week, we took 2 trades, and both ran. One ran 1 to 50, one ran like 1 to 30, 1 to 20, whatever it might have been. And I didn't really do anything else than that. Like it's just about I work on my own time, as you know, and when I'm on the charts and I want to trade, I will most likely find a trade, and if I don't, then that's whatever, because I understand what I do and I understand how to do it, and I understand that I can get involved almost anywhere. But the best thing that I would say to aim for, if you are looking for an actual goal to set, because I know that goals are really important in this, if they are to you. For me, I don't think goals are important, just because the only goal you should really have is a positive RR each month, consistently, that you know that you can make, not because you're martingaling. Because the second you're making positive RR consistently, whether that's 1 RR a month that you're making or 5 RR a month, you can make unlimited amounts of money. Okay, that's what you have to recognize. Because, 1 RR a month on a 10K account doesn't sound good. 1 RR a month on a $10 million account is everything that you'll ever need to live and beyond. For your children and for your future children and all that stuff, right? So it's a matter of just understanding where your own edge is and then trading that edge and executing it. Because once you understand it and you know it's profitable, the only way is up. Okay, but concerning another goal, right? I would say 5 to 10 RR a month is more than good. And again, we can catch that in a day and a week. But you have to realize that that's not always going to be the case, and aiming for something lower, like 5, 10 RR, which can be made literally in a day, is already fantastic. Because what a lot of us don't get is 5 to 10 RR, especially on a 100K account, is 10K on 1% risk, or 5K on not 10% risk. And again, that might not seem like a lot if you're looking for a much further future growth or whatever. But 5K or even 3K a month is enough to live in quite nice apartments, to pay off mortgages, and to basically work from home on your own. And then from there, it can only increase, right? And that's with only a 100K account produced by FTMO. On top of that, you start to have your own account to compound that. You can very quickly see what the future can hold. And again, this type of talk that we're having right now is going to be more so reserved for definitely Section 4 and Section 5, where we talk about psychology. Because a lot of us don't recognize that, 0.5 RR consistently a month is amazing. Again, it's low, don't get me wrong, and it's more retail sided, and it's not what we actually do, but you have to recognize that any positive RR consistently a month is more than enough, right? So that's all I'm trying to say here. But definitely aiming for 5 to 10 RR a month is already good enough. And again, some of you might hit 50 RR in a month. Like this month alone, we're at, I don't even know how much fucking RR, 150 RR. Off of the trades even I sent. Okay, maybe not 150, maybe less than that. But the point is, have a preset boundary that's low. Don't preset yourself at 100 RR a month. That's just dumb. Don't set yourself at 1% or 10% or 20% a month. That doesn't make any sense, because it's possible entirely, and it's consistently possible too. But the thing is, if you are to talk to anyone and say, I'll make 20% a month, you're going to be called a scammer no matter what. So that's why I never disclose 20% a month is normal. There's no point. I say 5 to 10 R a month is fine, and that is still including potential partials. So that could be literally like 2% a month, 3% a month as well. Okay, so that's the only reason I'm making that. I say what I say, and I say it that way. Bars. I'm gonna head out now. I'm gonna watch this one. It gets the webinar recording. All right, cool. Yeah, sounds good. See you, man. When it comes to lower time frame entries with Wyckoff and the schematic is completed, how do you know which supply and demand zone or mentfx block to enter off when there is multiple? Either with the mentfx block by using the largest one is number one. Secondly, is if your Wyckoff is completed, you can enter straight off on the original confirmation of it. So if this was Wyckoff, you could straight up enter as this trades through the AR and have a stop loss here with less risk, right? And then get back in if it, for instance, gets here, which it does, or down here, which it can, right? And even inside here, you can see there's potential Wyckoff. You have selling climax, AR, ST, STB, trades above, leaves this to band zone, comes back to it, and you have an entry, right? And you can get in on the along the way. But the best way to determine which is the best one to hold, you can't really, right? The best way to determine it is just to build up confluence, either through confirmations, either through mentfx blocks and multiple of them, either through a demand zone being on top of a zone like that with potential imbalance, and that's basically it. Like you can't just you never know 100%, right? That's one of the crucial things. But in this case, as we trade higher, there's no question that it's this zone that formed it. It's the last down move before the up move. So that's fine as a buy. Now, guess what? This zone did not have to come get mitigated. It could have just continued much higher. As it continues higher, if it did without ever touching this, it would have traded above this, which means a new mentfx block is put in place. There's a new area down here, or even areas in here that can be used as POIs. And if the price did come here, which it did, you can use that to enter, right? In this case, again, we have the down move, the up move, and you have the demand zone, or even the last demand zone that you could have refined, and then it comes to enter it perfectly, right? So there's no specific way to know which OB, to know which demand or supply zone is going to hold, or mentfx block is going to hold, but you just need to build confluence on it, all right? What risk percent per trade do you use for your FTMO accounts? I'm good with like, so right now with the 50K, I'll probably do 1% because it's just 500, so it's like whatever. But 0.3 to 0.5% I think is a good place to start, especially since it will keep you emotionally out of trades, especially if you're losing. It'll keep you emotionally stable because you're like, oh, okay, 0.3%, I can make it back, right? Then a movie. True. We want the book. I got you guys. The big long. Are you gonna buy a Lambo? I don't like Lambos. I'm gonna get a Porsche though. Yeah, I love Porsches. I think they're beautiful cars and amazing. I'll ask that everyone stays muted just for now. There we go. Trying to be like you, Sensei. Thank you. Seems to be a redistribution. Yeah, maybe. Is this recorded? Yes, it is. Market open. Ooh, nice. Let's go look at EU real quick. I wonder if it actually held at that zone I had, or if it just traded right through. Yeah, okay, traded right through. Perfect. Okay, we'll talk about EU in a second because I know I said we'd talk about it. So anyone that is going to watch this after is going to have a chance to look at that. I have 2 questions for tonight. All right, let's do the 2 questions. What do you expect in USD CAD? I'm going to look at EU. But I can maybe look at UCAD after. We have a big supply and demand zone on the daily time frame in 2 hour. Would Wyckoff wait here in the POI zone for 2 hours? I mean, if you have a POI, then yes, wait for Wyckoff. That's just part of our strategy, at least for me, or mentfx blocks. Number 2, I have a little confusion when in POI zones to wait for Wyckoff for entry, and then when the classic break of structure on a smaller time frame, and for my entry to be non-mitigate supply demand zone at 1 to 5 minute, and when I have to wait for my stop loss to break through and grab liquidity. Ooh, okay, let me, hold on. I was a little confusion when in POI zones to wait for Wyckoff for entry. So when we're in a POI, you have a confusion about waiting for Wyckoff. Okay. On a small time for my entry to be non-mitigate. I'm a little confused, I'm sorry. If you have the zone, my confirmation on a lower time frame, most likely, because it's not going to happen on this time frame. Maybe it will if it moves slowly, but usually you'll have a selling climax, AR, ST, STB, or spring, right? And inside of here, you can also have that. Now, if this is the Wyckoff you're looking at, your confirmation is going to come from here, right? Even if we start trading above here and start doing this. Now, as we do that, you can still look for confirmations within these demand zones of Wyckoff in there if you want to get in at a better price, or you'd be waiting for this to get in to take you higher. Now, additionally, if you were looking inside here on an even lower time frame, you're most likely going to see this occur. And if that happens, these are perfectly valid for entries to go higher because that's Wyckoff occurring within that. But that's part of confirming something on a lower time frame before letting it run to a confirmed higher time frame. So I hope that kind of answered. I'm a little confused by the question though, I'm sorry. What is the difference between mentfx blocks and Darvas? I have no idea what Darvas is, so that's probably the main difference. No idea what this is, bro. I'm sorry. Too many coffees, true. Anton, you're a god. I mean, thank you, but I'm no god. Anton equals goat level. Take 2 trades plus ADR. Yeah, this. I mean, it was lucky. Like that could have also ran 5R, right? But yeah, those did run pretty nicely, so it was beautiful. Should we stick to one pair so we won't overtrade, trying to look or force trading for the day? If you find that looking at more pairs gets you screwed over and makes you miss stuff, then stick to one pair. If you like your strategy and know that it works with multiple, then stick to multiple pairs. Just work with yourself through this. I myself like one pair, just because I know I can trade any part of it, right? I look at the Forex market as my bank account. If I take an L, I just make a deposit. I'm going to withdraw later. True. I managed to hit about 23% in one day the other day. Exactly, Jay. Perfect. Is that 2-hour video posted or not yet? No, it's not. It's going to be posted after this is uploaded. Or as this is uploaded, or as we finish this. It was an eye-opener. Not yet. Thanks. No problem, guys. What brokers do you recommend? Deposit by MasterCard, not Bitcoin. No idea. Check that out in the broker section. People can help you with that. Just make sure you specify where you're living, so they can help you with that. Because, you know, since I'm in the US, I have to have that Bitcoin deposit one since it doesn't verify, and it gives me 1 to 500 because the US only limits you at 1 to 50, and I don't like that. Not sure if you have covered already, joined late, but do you think the accumulation schematic on Euro USD 4-hour daily is valid? It's almost valid. It hasn't been validated yet. Is it here? We'll take a look at EU in a second too, by the way, because I did promise to look at it, so definitely we'll look at that in a second. On top of compounding your account and getting a 100K account, then you can get more 100K accounts, combine that shit, and 1% can be a shit ton of bread, man. Yeah, exactly. Like 1% off of the combined, which is 400K now, is 4K. If you guys can make 4K on 1RR, you know, like, just think about what we're doing here. And like, the second you, like, think about having a 400K account and then partialing at 1 to 2. Are you upset about partialing at 1 to 2 now for 50%, making 4K on that trade already, locked in, guaranteed? Not at all, right? On the other hand, if you have a $100 account and you're looking at partials of 1 to 2, you're going to make about, what, $1 or 0.2 cents? So it seems very small, and again, that's part of psychologically fucking you. You need to understand what your entire system is, because guess what? We're living in a time where you literally have the ability to become rich quick. Literally, like, it might be crazy, but you actually have the chance to become rich quick. And the only way you're going to do that is if you, first of all, understand your system in and out, and then go and get funded, instead of risking your account over and over again, having that, you know, trying to flip a $100 account into 1K. There's no point. You don't need to be doing any of that. All you need to do is save your money, learn to trade, and then apply that to a prop trading account. All right. Fuck. That's a tally mark for you. True. I got 2 more weeks, my boy. I'm hoping to kill the fucking market this week. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. He said the word with the O word. Yeah, we banned that shit here. Whole lot of lessons learned, my boy Kels. Oh, we're good shit, bro. Nice. All right, everyone's doing great. Corey, bro, this is recorded, bro. Oh yeah, bro, Corey, this is recorded, man. If you need to get your, I've been watching you with I think your daughter in the background. She's cute though. Someone call him. I don't know how I already sent the man. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions? This is going to tape, guys. Don't know what his Discord is. All right. We're all good here. Yo, Anton, tell him his cam's on. Oh yeah, Corey, your cam's on if you didn't know. Just so you know. By the time he got this message, it's too late. True. Started to go on fire. All right, we all good here. We all good. 4K in the countries run for 2 years. Yeah, exactly. 4K in the countries run for 2 years. Where are you going to post the video? Don't worry. I'm gonna tag everybody in the Discord and let you guys know where it is. I hope Anton mentioned him. I mentioned him. I mean, I didn't know what was going on, but I hope everything's all right. If he can't, that is Amazon. Why do you think he can't see the chat or not? So suggest the trade demo, save money, and get funded. Yep. I mean, like, again, demo versus live is very different. But if you are able to execute and execute properly over and over again, then you shouldn't have a problem transitioning. It might have a little bit of a hiccup, but you should not have a problem transitioning, okay? Bro, he don't care. True. Where can I see the recording? Don't worry. It'll all be posted. Everything will be available. It'll be simple to see. I'll tag everybody. You'll see it in the Discord. Don't worry. What are you thinking with EU? Yeah, we're about to look at EU. All right, we're just about at the bottom. Kind of take us through the Wyckoff schematic. Check out Did I talk about it in webinar 2? If I haven't, check out some of the public YouTube videos on Wyckoff, because I go really in depth on them. And then especially when we do section 3, you'll see that in there. Because we're at about an hour and 20 minutes now. So I want to look at Euro USD as kind of a final thing. You thinking of switching prop firms? Maybe. This one right here is just amazing, guys. Like, holy shit. The prop trading. This is just absolutely nutty. Like, look at this. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. 200K account at 1 to 200. That's double FTMO. 200K, 1 to 200 is $800. On top of that, it's less for the profit target. It's about 8%. Less for the second profit target. So same thing as FTMO almost. The only thing, oh, and 80% profit share. Holy shit. And on top of that, the only bad thing, what I was going to say, not on top of that, sorry. The only bad thing about them is a little bit of a higher spread. Like, I think EU spread is still under 1, but it's a little bit higher. Which, you know, something we might have to deal with. But I'm honestly considering just going with this and just kind of, you know, just all-inning the FTMO 50K. Just take a $500 risk on 0.4 pips, you know, send it in real quick and have it run 1 to 200 potentially. No, I'm kidding. I'm probably not going to do that. But if I am to get funded with these people, like I don't care about working with multiple prop firms, but I do know there's a way to like merge them all with like some MT4 tools. So we'll see about that. Anton is mentfx. Who was that, Anton? Bro, I'm mentfx. Hello? Is that what you mean? What? All right, anyway. So EU, guys. Okay. What am I looking at? What was I expecting at least? So let's take a look at what I'm expecting, and then we'll take a look at the top down, just so you guys know. Let's get rid of all these mentfx blocks real quick. There we go. Now, a few things. I was expecting shorts from here. Actually, overall, I'm expecting longs from here. This is my overall area, right? I want to see longs from here. Now, to see longs from there, I want to see shorts from here or here, and that's what I was looking at. Just the supply zone here. We just have, you know, mentfx block here. Got tested here, so we have this area that could hold, or this area. We don't know 100%. Looks like we're having some Wyckoff in this area, so already we're getting a breakdown. If anything, it's very ugly. I hate this, but on a 15-minute, it doesn't look super shit. We have the buying climax, the AR, the ST, some kind of mini sign of weakness, not that good. It's a distribution. Yeah, I mean, you can see it on the 15-minute too. A UT or a UTAD, you have the breakdown just now. Most likely, I want to see sells from right here, especially with the imbalance left behind. So if price gets up here, I'll look for a confirmation entry off of lower time frame schematic, because it's a 15-minute chart, so I have a lot of lower time frame that we can do there to find sells into these zones here. Otherwise, price is most likely going to continue way lower. Now, if it does, we just formed this mentfx block here, so we still might make a mini run for it, and if we do, there could be opportunities in here. Again, but this is larger, so we have to be really careful about getting involved here, because, you know, it could come all the way here. It could easily have a distribution in here on a lower time frame, you know, partial, and then come up into here. But definitely, this is a mentfx block. I'm going to focus on this right here. Since it's Sunday, I don't really care about this. If it does happen, you know, there might be a great opportunity, but I don't care about it. If we do get up here, could be an opportunity, but again, I don't really like to trade Sundays. No real point. Usually, spread is just kind of very variable and can get really big because it is a Sunday or Sunday night. So not going to play around with that too much. Now, the top down of what's actually going on. As you all know, monthly has always been bullish since we tapped into this demand zone here. I've been trading higher. I've been expecting it to come and take this liquidity high. Right now, we're in the supply zone here, so we're getting that mitigation. And this mitigation, most likely from my end, is most likely the creation of liquidity before we do make a higher high. So I'm looking for that overall. Now, on a weekly, or even a monthly, you can see this last demand zone here. That's what we're trading in right now. Now, this might be the final mitigation of it, and then we could see the higher prices on the other end. It could come into a deeper, and then come and meet with higher prices. Otherwise, we could see a breakdown. I'm not expecting a breakdown below this low. However, that could happen, and we'd be aiming for either the mentfx block right here or the demand zones down here. Okay, so if that is to happen, you know, there's going to be a ton of opportunities for shorts down into those areas. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but we're at this monthly demand zone right now. So overall, we are still bullish, especially on the weekly. If you take a look at it, very easy to see that we are putting in bullish price action. We're breaking structure to the top side impulsively and bullishly, and we're moving back very, very correctively. And this move back, as you can see, came to test the last actual demand zone, and if we wanted to, we could refine that to the actual wick, right? As you can see, the wick has been tested, and that was the last demand zone, literally. So this could be the last low that's ever made before new highs are met, but that does not have to be the case. We can easily come lower because there are areas in here that I'm sure we could find that have been unmitigated. On top of that, if we're talking about wicks, there is this wick right here as well, the last wick before the down move, that could function as its own last area. So if price is to break this, I will most likely look for potential re-entries on structural highs to get down into here. That might be part of a larger Wyckoff to get higher. That's perfectly valid, but overall, I'm looking for this to hold right now. I want this to hold, right? So that's my bias. I want this to hold. Most important thing. But we're always fine with anticipating lower prices to be met as well. So I'm going to get rid of this because we're overall in this monthly zone. We're fine to this demand zone on the weekly, looking for it to trade from there. Daily. The daily is very bearish and very impulsive bearish. And right now we're getting our first pullback and we're testing, it looks like, no, we haven't mitigated yet. We're testing the last potential mentfx block formed right here, right? As you can see, the last up move before the down move. But similarly, we are inside of this mentfx block right here and we have just started testing it. So we might be seeing that mitigation occur here or maybe up here to come into some demand zones lower, okay? So we don't know if that's the case. Now again, this actual supply zone can be refined either to this or to the actual last up move. So we still have a lot of up movement that can still occur to get up into those areas, and that's perfectly fine. So the expectation is that if this bullishness is to continue, it should at least continue into the mitigation of this here, or then of course the higher zones up here, which can also be the case. But right now all I want to see is bullishness to here, and that's a fine bias because we're on the daily and we have a lot of movement that can still make its way up into here, right? Now as we get lower, let's go to like a 4 hour. That's fine. As we get to a 4 hour, we can see that we have begun to break structure higher, and as we broke in structure higher, this was the mitigation of, oh, this is where Lotus Voids took his, this is where Kevin got into his buy. Beautiful entry. Now it came to liquidate it, coming a little bit lower, liquidating some areas, coming into some demand zones here that we can't really see. So there's nothing to really look at on the 4 hour. But overall, the 4 hour could be making its way up into, as you can see, this last supply zone here, if it is to meet us with potential lower price action right into some zones here. So there could be great sells here, or this could be a great target for buys currently. Now, on the 1 hour, as we get lower, we can see that we've actually broken down in structure in the form of this low here. So overall, again, we left behind this mentfx block right here, and we're just about at the 50% mitigation of that mentfx block, which was this supply zone here. And that is why I was actually expecting it to come down lower from there. That's the distribution that we're having right now. Okay, so this area doesn't matter too much to me. All that matters to me right now is pretty much this zone down here and this zone here, which is, as we get a little bit lower, which is the mitigation of this overall. There is the zone here, but I don't think that's going to get touched right now, especially if this distribution wants to hold, and that's making its way into this demand zone here, which again is mitigated on this time frame, but we get to the 15-minute, we find the unmitigated. Now similarly, we have the mentfx block here, and it has been mitigated at the open, it looks like, but we could be making our way into here, so there's still movement to the downside, which can come into here, or even the 50%, which you'll notice adds up perfectly with this demand zone. So I do want to see price, if it wants to, if it's going to, give me confirmation in here, of course, like I said, to come into here. Similarly, we are in this mentfx block, so there might be an opportunity even right here, right now, that can take us down into these zones right here, because I want to see price overall get here, right? So overall, the bias is still overall bullish from the very high time frames. Now to get on that bullish move, we can be getting involved in all these areas here, of course, and as we get lower, we can see we did have that mini grab up to the top side, some kind of a little bit ugly, but you have the buying climax, the AR, the ST, and SOS in B. I mean, a sign of weakness in B, kind of a mini up thrust, but more of a ST, your actual up thrust, or a UTAD in this case, and we have the breakdowns below, leaving behind the mentfx block, this mentfx block, and overall leaving behind really no nice areas except for this mini imbalance here, and this imbalance. Actually, is that an imbalance? I think it is. There's a little imbalance right there as well. Right now, we might be making our way back up into this zone right here. Could be great sells off of there, because that's also inside of this overall mentfx block. So, if anything, I'm happy with looking for confirmation sells from this point right here. And we can take a look at this even on a lower time frame real quick. You can see it's just ugly as shit, but you can refine this to this beautiful last up move before the down move, the last supply zone that's been unmitigated. And again, if this price action was not on a Sunday, the expectation would be potentially this is a PSY. I don't like this as a buying climax, no shit, because it's just ugly, right? Here's your BC. Maybe we have an AR, ST, up thrust, and then up here as we make the UTAD, we'll have a BC, AR, ST, up thrust, UTAD, and our entry can be here. Or we can get on the mentfx block entry here, targeting lows, lows, and lows. If that gets confirmed, we have more potential entries that can happen either in here or even in here. And as we make our way back up, there could be more Wyckoff as such. And that could take us to those lower prices that we have preset down here. And as you can see, there's a ton of RR available here if we are to find something like this. And again, if this is not to hold and this bias does not play out, or even if we do have this bias play and then it loses, we have tons of areas up inside of this, even at the 50% and higher, so this overall demand zone here, to look for the same thing to occur. And the higher we get, the more potential RR we can even get. And even if we don't get involved, as price does make its way up into here and does something like this, we can now look for these areas to get involved, or these areas to get involved as new supply and demand zones form, down to, mentfx blocks, whatever it is, down into way lower prices. Okay, so that's the overall expectation on Euro USD as it stands right now. Going to be looking for sells from here or up here, just from my point of view, especially since we just put in new lows. So it's shifting bearish. It's definitely shifted bearish, but I like to have my confirmations. Do you still enter off such lower time frames and higher time frame POIs like the 4-hour or make a refinement first? Yes, I do. Because usually, even on a 4-hour open of a zone, you'll have fantastic. You'll have a great there'll be, so if this is a 4-hour zone. Sorry, I sound like I'm dumb, but if this is a 4-hour zone, you'll have potentially on lower time frames Wyckoff here that you can trade, partial of course, then get broken even. Wyckoff even in here that you can trade, break even, right, and that becomes overall larger Wyckoff, SC, AR, ST, STB, and then you have the real breaks higher, and that becomes overall Wyckoff, right? So I don't really mind concerning the actual stuff. So we always wait for accumulation. If you're trading at a demand zone, yes, you look for distribution at a supply zone though. So hopefully that made sense. So yeah, this is my overall expectation on Euro USD. Hopefully you guys understood that. Nothing like crazy. Everything that we've always done. We have our zones. We have structure breaking down. We look for how price can come and meet that structure lower, and we look for confirmations along the way. Now, as I said, if price breaks above this, we have that higher area up here that we will look for, but most likely we'll see it come to take out. You can see this, all these highs up here. There's a ton of liquidity resting here. So that's perfectly fine. Gold, same thing for the most part. I've been bullish on it since, if you remember, we've been bullish on it since we came into here, and now we're seeing that happen. We get to a 1 hour, you can very easily see we're getting the breaks of structure higher, leaving behind these mentfx blocks. We came to test some of that, again, mitigating almost nothing, so not much to look at, but that's fine. As we get above here, if it's impulsive, we have new demand zones here and potentially down here that also function as larger mentfx blocks, which will be this, that we can look for buys at, because we're overall expecting buys from these zones. Now again, price does not have to respect this. They can easily come lower, and the example of that is this right here. We are just looking at this weekly down move before the up move, right? Structurally, we broke higher, but overall, you could argue that there was also areas here. So if this is to break, we will be bearish into these lower demand zones. And if we are bearish at those zones, you'll see that, it looks like a very small area, but if we do get those breaks down, you'll see that, there's actually a ton of pips to be earned. Even a break of this, even to the open of this, is about 379 pips, right? So you have a ton of movement even there, right? So it might look tiny, but just this type of confirmation could give you confirmations even back up inside new supply zones, right? So Wyckoff occurs in new supply zones, and that's already, if something like that was to happen, right? I'm not saying it will, but if it were, that on its own to the open is already 750 pips, right? So that's an example of how you can be looking at gold. But yeah, overall, just like Euro USD, very bullish. It came into an important supply and demand zone, in this case, into an important demand zone, and it has been showing us that it might want to go higher. So from that aspect, we will look for higher prices. Now again, we're looking to counter trend trade, but this counter trend trade is part of the higher time frame expectation, which is set in the fact that this zone will function as the potential bullish zone that will then go and then meet new supply zones here or even higher zones here. And as we get higher, we see that it's being met with these 4-hour breaks higher, so potentially higher, right? So on and so forth. Now, if we break that, does not mean we're bearish. All it means is we'll be bearish until lower either mentfx blocks, not really actually, lower demand zones here, for instance, right? And that's really low. And again, it's already mitigated. So you might use this one overall because that's unmitigated, as you can see. So you could use that potentially, but overall the expectation would still be bullish. Yeah, I love trading for this. Exactly. We only trade zone to zone. That's how it works. Even you don't have to be on the higher time frames, but the higher time frames really help you formulate all the lower time frames. Can you show me an example or two of POI? I promise finding one. So we just did that here. This is a POI that we're at. The POI has just been touched with this Wyckoff schematic that's forming. As you can see, the Wyckoff schematic has formed, validated, and now is coming up to test the POIs here and potentially here, which are inside of this overall POI, which is a mentfx block, right? And what are we doing in it? Looking for Wyckoff either here or here, okay? I can't get confirmation about Wyckoff and B's in SD. I'm stuck finding a POI, so yeah, it's right here. Hopefully that helped. I've been reading the Wyckoff book, and you have just cemented something in my head. The composite man, Anton, okay, will form accumulation or distribution in our POIs, but the lower time frames will form plenty of Wyckoffs depending on how many orders it needs to trade hands. Exactly. Very, very good. That's a great observation. I love trading from the sun. True. Anton, I'm new to the group and just going through your videos. I might have a stupid question, but better to ask rather than to keep quiet. Sure. How do I recognize whether the move will be reaccumulation or distribution? You can only know if a move is going to be an accumulation or distribution because of the bias you have preset. We are not expecting this to be a reaccumulation right now. We are expecting it to be a distribution because of the structural points that we have highlighted and the areas that we've determined. Our bias determines what Wyckoff is going to form. The Wyckoff does not determine where we're going. Okay? Very, very crucial. I repeat it a lot, but it's definitely something that even the people that know about it in the group should hear. Okay? The setup form looks very similar to me, and it's hard to make a difference when I see Wyckoff making lower lows and it's still distribution at the end. Thanks. Yeah, so you understand how this works. So again, based on your overall structural belief about what is going on, and based on your overall areas that you're looking for mitigation to occur at, you are already expecting distribution or accumulation to form. If you begin to see a distribution occurring at an area where you're expecting accumulation, you can already expect that distribution to be a reaccumulation. You understand that? So they're one and the same thing. You need to already know. And again, just very quickly, so you understand a small part about Wyckoff, here is your selling climax, AR, ST, STB, spring, break above, right? Test potentially, continuation. That's an accumulation. The same way, a distribution, how does it look, right? We all already know, but you like let's talk distribution. I mean distribution. Oh wait, reaccumulation. Sorry, I'm dumb. Reaccumulation. How does so this is accumulation. How's reaccumulation look? Buying climax, AR, ST, usually an upthrust, right? Some kind of creek, right? So we have a creek of some sort, right? That occurs. The manipulation of that creek, the break above, the test, and the continuation is higher. Now, as I do this, what you'll notice that we notice every time is this is the exact same as this. Okay, this is an accumulation. This is a reaccumulation, but this zone and the way price moved right here is the exact same that price moved right here. These are the two same things. So just because you're seeing distribution doesn't mean you can't expect reaccumulation, especially if you have this as a POI. You see that? Okay. So hopefully that made sense to you. Okay. I think we got through a lot of things just now. We got through EU, so you guys understand what I'm looking at for EU and how I'm going to be approaching it for the coming week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the webinar, and we're going to stop the recording there.